Hey, what is up ladies and gentlemen, I'm Sonic the Hedgehog here and I'm back for some more of the Maxi Toys videos. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Let's Play of the forms of Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed for the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, PlayStation Vita, Nintendo Wii U, PC Steam, and of course Nintendo 3DS. So, last time we actually did fully completely done with the forms of Moonlight Park, and even then though, that we actually did done pretty decent on that particular world, despite there are some few issues here and there, but in forms of like let's just say like collision detection issues, but in forms of the racer vases, but in forms I've almost fell off to the pit below. And yeah, so today for this episode, folks, is the fact that we're going to be heading off to the true final world in this game, in the forms of World Tour mode anyway. Now it's the forms of Superstar Showdown. Now as you can clearly see that the previous worlds actually originally did have ourselves, you know, for example, but in forms of how the fact that we actually get into like Sunshine Coast and etc. that normally get ourselves 24 stars to begin with. Turns out that they actually managed to give ourselves an opportunity that we get ourselves extra amount of stars, because as you can tell, originally back in during the likes at the beginning of this Let's Play, that normally we get ourselves 24 stars to able to grind through in the forms of Sunshine Coast. And especially noticeable by the forms of, I would say the same thing for Scorching Skies, or especially noticeable with any other stages for this matter, have lesser amount of stars to collect. Well, turns out after when you're able to actually completely done with the forms of Moonlight Park and jump straight into Superstar Showdown, we get ourselves extra amount of stars to collect. So that, for instance, that well, normally we can now able to collect even more stars thanks to the likes of this new unlockable rank that we've actually managed to unlock, even especially noticeable by the forms of pretty much for the sake of like the hardest amount of challenges, which basically we actually managed to unlock ourselves, well, Class S. Class S, as you expected, is basically a harder difficulty setting, and as a result it might be resist of experts, which even then, I'll explain more details about this little differences between you know, any other difficulties, but in forms of some of these challenges. But for right now, as you can see, we're actually going to be heading back into Ada's lair again. But this time around though, we're actually going to be doing a race once again, and as you can clearly see, everything else has been completely flipped, which yes, much like the ones in the forms of Mario Kart games, the only exception being Super Mario Kart and Mario Kart Super Circuit, mind you. It's the fact that every single track in this game is being entirely flipped over, so as a result that it's entirely mirrored. So yeah, I'm really glad they're actually now featuring the mirrored variations of those specific tracks alone. What I found is a little bit weird is the fact that, well, you know how the fact that it's very much like how it does in forms of any other Mario Kart games, is that in order to actually unlock mirror mode, is by simply we have to traverse through every single cups in the game, but in forms of, it's kind of strange how the fact that in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe that normally mirror mode was actually unlocked from the start this time around though, as opposed to unlocking it in the forms of the previous Mario Kart games, so to speak. But even then though, I'm really quite surprised to see how the mirror class was actually comes into play, or even especially noticeable by the forms of just mirror mode of some of these tracks themselves. So even then, I don't know if they're actually going to be doing that, but it forms of the upcoming Sonic Racing game eventually this year. But even though, I've heard from some other rumors, or in this case, some especially noticeable with leaks and etc. I don't know if they're actually going to be announcing. Well, I've definitely noticed they might actually try to announce something more related to like, you know, like a new information, but in forms of the new Sonic Racing game coming up soon. But I don't know what consoles it's going to be in. But even though I was really expecting to hoping it will come out on the Nintendo Switch, because, you know, the new generation of Nintendo console, and even especially noticeable with the forms of the PlayStation 4. And especially, I really don't know if they actually try to announce it on the Nintendo 3DS version, because I've heard that several times already, but in forms of how the fact that I was hoping that Nintendo 3DS will be ended, but in forms of 2019, thanks to the Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside Story plus Bowser Jr.'s Journey's release. But according to what Nintendo says, is the fact that Nintendo 3DS is still keep on going. That particular handheld never stops, doesn't it? At least compared to how it does in the forms of well, for the Wii U, because the Wii U selling points, it's gone pretty poorly, and as a result, I think the reason why the 3DS is never seems to stop is most likely because most kids nowadays manage to able to buy ourselves the new Nintendo 2DS XL every now and then, especially noticeable with the other skins of the forms of, you know, new Nintendo 2DS XL and stuff like that. I think that's a perfect example of how the fact that the 3DS never seems to end, doesn't it? But anyways though, so yeah, there's not much else I can really talk for this point, so even then though, that today was actually in forms of the 9th of May, so that means is that today, this is the very end of the forms of the Miitomo application. It's most likely because, you know, the service is now shutting down, and this means you could not able to actually add up even more Nintendo, well, at least my Nintendo Platinum coins now, but the only ones you can get Platinum coins every now and then is the forms of not just the actual website itself occasionally, but also Super Mario Run, Fire Emblem, Heroes, and especially noticeable the most recent one, which is the forms of Animal Crossing Pocket Cap, which, to be honest, I wasn't really into the actual forms of Miitomo, to be honest, because it feels like a, I don't know, there's not much else we can do besides just community, which even that though, that, I know what you're thinking how the fact that, dude, why can't you get it until now, because even then though, that, the service is now shutting down today. Well, it's too late for now, because even then though, because, you know, the service is shutting down, but in forms of Miitomo, which, you know, can be the same applies to how it does it, but in forms of no additional, Wii points now on the forms of Nintendo Wii's Virtual Console, which even I know I still miss that even to this day, because, you know, that is honestly my favorite Wii channels in the forms of Nintendo Wii titles, as well as, well, channels rather, sorry. Even though I didn't experience the North American version of that specific Wii Shop channel for that either, it's most likely because, well, first off, there's no way we can be able to actually store a credit card info, and plus I don't think we can get ourselves $8 in our country because, well, it might be very complicated for me though, because, you know, we've already got 3 Nintendo Wii systems as of now, but in forms of, we're still keeping one, but in forms of retro gaming, and especially noticeable that we still got a black one to play actual Wii games with it, slash Nintendo GameCube ones in some emphasis, and the other Wii, but in forms of the American Wii, because of that one specific game I still managed to got, but in forms of Mario Super Sluggers, the only Mario Wii game that never saw the light of day in UK, most likely because, you know, baseball was actually, you know, very popular in the forms of the America itself, so even then, that makes it pretty obvious with the solution there, but even then, yeah, that's what I can usually come across into. And speaking of which, it's almost there until we're able to actually get ourselves the, not only the 10th year anniversary, but the forms of our release, or in this case, our release, of the forms of Super Smash Bros. Brawl for the Nintendo Wii, but also for a 10th year anniversary of Mario Super Sluggers came out in 2008, specifically in June in 2008 in Japan, and I believe August in North America in the forms of also in 2008, but you know, the UK version never saw the light of day because, you know, that's what I can really say about this here though, so. Anyway, so let's get started right there, but in forms of the versus event right there, and as you can tell, I'm actually up to the challenge, but in forms of Class A, so I'm hoping I can able to actually beat those rivals yet again, but this time around though with Chili Castle, so you know, you get the idea with the solutions right there. Okay, turns out I actually did a quick editing right there. It's most likely because I'm having struggling just about to be doing this event in rank A, because, well, if you couldn't tell already, I actually decided to able to change up the difficulty into Class B, because, for the love of God, Ooh La La is actually gone super darn, well, cheapest of them all, because even then, first off, that, well, I'm not actually a pro at this, I have to be honest here for this point, folks, but even then, because this is one of those things that computer AI can sometimes really screws me over every now and then, but even then, that's just how I think it is. So anyways, if you couldn't tell on screen, that's once again, we're going to be playing as BD Joe, and as you can tell, we're actually going to be revisiting, but in forms of, you know, Chili Castle once again, but this time, you know, it's completely mirrored, so even I know that's pretty obvious with this solution right there. So yeah, I could normally try to do this on the forms of the harder difficulty, but it's just that for some reason I keep on Well, I think that's the greatest solution of how the fact that this track can get pretty darn difficult sometimes because of, you know, too many sharp curves you have to drift most of the time, and especially noticeable, there's way too many emphases that you might accidentally just bump into walls all the goddamn time, and as a result, it makes it incredibly difficult for that little transportation as well. But I digress, so let's go ahead and just keep our speed going. So yeah, let's go ahead and do our rematch incarnation of the forms of Ooh La La, that cheating little coward. Well, I won't say coward, but it's just how the fact that she is so good at this particular event. Especially noticeable in the forms of hard mode, at least in my experience though anyway, because she definitely knows the actual track layout very, very well, and also the usage of the items for that as well. Which, again, that's my only major gripe I have with this game sometimes compared to the ones in, you know, the original Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, is that the AI in this game is actually in rubber banding at the moment, which even then, well, it's nothing usually becomes like an extremely rubber banding, unlike the ones in Sonic Rivals 1 for the PlayStation Portable. Because, yeah, trust me, I just cannot stand rubber banding in any forms of Sonic Rivals because they always catch up to me for about a few seconds notice, which, thankfully though, in Sonic Rivals 2, they did manage to make the game a little bit more balanced. But in forms of not just the actual premise of the actual tracks themselves or something like that, but it's also because of the rubber banding AI is going significantly a little bit more improvement in forms of Sonic Rivals 2, as far as I'm aware, because even then, yeah. You can definitely tell that I've had some strong feelings with the forms of rubber banding AI in these games sometimes. Most notably by the forms of, I've already mentioned about this, or if I've already mentioned about this, I should say, by the forms of not only Sonic Rivals 1, but also Mario Kart Wii, and also there's one from this game as well, I feel like, from my experience though anyway. But that's just how it is for me. So the final opponents, as you can see right there, we're actually going to be racing against with Vice. So, the opponents-wise, we're actually going into the chronological order. We got ourselves Delicate Patrick, Knights, Ooh La La, Ralph from Wreck-It Ralph, and the final opponent is definitely Vice. So, yeah, that's all I can cover it. But anyways, in addition to today was actually forms of, you know, 9th of May recently. Until the next couple of days, I might actually decide to go ahead and see Deadpool 2 until at some point or another, which even then, I'm actually looking forward to the sequel of Deadpool, which even then, I was a huge fan of Deadpool 1, which even then, it gives me a lot of cracks here and there, will crack me up at some point or another, but anyways, now we've unlocked the Chili Castle mirrored version, so yeah, as you can tell, we've actually leveled up BG Joe in the forms of balanced mode, so yeah, not too bad, not too shabby either. So, this is what the actual difficulty curve, when it comes to challenges themselves, can get ridiculously difficult at some points. Most notably by the forms of, you know, how, as far as I established that before, we actually now finally come across into, oh no, you gotta be kidding me. But we're not going to do that just yet, because I might decide to go ahead and, actually, before we're able to continue on with this, let's go ahead and unlock our new console mod, and this could be only used for both Knights and Riala by the forms of the Sega Saturn console mod. Because, you know, Knights into Dreams originally came out on the Sega Saturn in the forms of 1996 or something like that. But anyways though, let's go ahead and do Traffic Attack first, before I'm able to actually just get that stage over with by the forms of that dreaded Graffiti City, in my opinion. So let's go ahead and select Mimi this time. But even then, though, that's as far as I can really try to say for this point, because even then, there's still no sign of new information upon the new Super Monkey Ball game just yet, by the forms of some other parts noticed. Now, as far as I'm aware, but I don't know if it's true or not, but even then, let's go ahead and get started by the forms of this event right there. We're actually going to be exploring through Sunshine Tour once again, but this time around though, for the very first time, that now it's being completely flipped. I don't know if in the original game it does actually feature the mirror versions of some of these previous tracks you've already been into, but I might be wrong about that, but I digress. Okay, so this particular Traffic Attack mission is completely different this time around, because normally you can still able to carry some items with you, but this time around though, our weapons disposal is actually gone completely different. Taking notice, very much like the ones in the Pursuit types missions, is the fact that you can able to now actually use your ammos. So even though you can able to actually deal with these cars no problem, and you can able to actually avoid as many traffic as much as you like, including the likes of the yellow cars, including these green ones especially for those little narrow gaps in between, and even especially noticeable by the forms of the blue cars especially as well. So even I know that could be extremely helpful for me anyway, although I could normally try to do this on hard mode, but the only trouble is about this though is the fact that I might as well easily gonna get screwed over at some points, most notably by the forms of the random patterns, but in forms of some other cars, different multitude of colored cars and all that stuff. But even now, I can able to actually cope with this, I think is what this at. And sure, this track is very short by the looks of all that, compared to the ones in the Samba Studios, but in forms of, you know, the only original Samba de Amigo track in the entire game. But even now, that's just how I think about it, but anyway. So, you know, there's not much else I can really much to say about this here, besides I've always gonna get screwed over. But luckily though, if you accidentally just manage to get rid of the actual green car by complete accident, luckily though, you can still, the game still's detected by the forms of you can actually bypass the wave completely. So even I know that could be pretty pleasant and welcoming. So anyways. And boom, there we go. Now we've done with that. I could normally try to do this on expert or especially noticeable on hard mode, but we'll see what happens there after this video is done, because I'm gonna tell you right about now, this might take me a lot of hard work to able to actually grind for. Oh, are you kidding me? I didn't get a level up for Mimi. Oh, I'm really sorry about that, Mimi. I will try and level up you until our next couple of points notice. I'm so sorry. Oh, that's quite embarrassment. But anyway, because yeah, after this video, I'm actually going to be discussing about this special message. I'm going to have to be honest with this point, guys. But even then, I'm not going to discuss about this just yet, because for now, let's get this stage over with by the forms of Graffiti City. Good lord. Anyways, let's go ahead and just go ahead and select Ooh La La real quickly. And able to actually just to get this stage finished before you're able to actually not touch the stage ever again. Well, it wasn't until when we actually get into the Grand Prix modes, which even then between the standard mode and even especially noticeable on mirror modes especially as well. Oh boy, I can able to guarantee I might as well get screwy around here. Well, at least I can do a little bit slightly better than the likes of last time, but in forms of you know, the boost challenges and etc. But it's just, it's so pretty dang frustrating by the forms of how the fact that if you don't know the track earlier on, we were especially noticeable by the fact that right now we're actually on the mirror brace at the moment until now. Excuse me. Because of that though, I just need to able to actually get to this track memorized, and then after all, not to mention how the fact that whenever as long as I'm able to actually just continuously doing this stage for a bit of some practice, then I should be fine. But it doesn't, again, it doesn't last very long if I had to be honest here, because there were plenty of times I might as well able to get screwed over by the forms of keep on bashing onto the other walls, especially with computer opponents AI by the forms of rubber banding, and even that stupid stunt fails that announcer keep on saying that to me for taunting me. Which, even I know, I had to be honest here, I'm just not a big fan of the announcer in this game, to be honest, because even I know, well, he's kind of cool at first, but when you keep on failing some stunts miserably, he just gets pretty darn repetitive and also obnoxious at the same time. Which, even I know, he doesn't feel completely silent once you keep on doing that multitude of times, because even I know, he always says that all the goddamn time, which even then, at least I give the, Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing announcer some credit for is the fact that he doesn't say stunt fail every time whenever I failed some of the stunts, whenever the animations is not even finished, which even I know that might be sounds a little bit for more of a credit to do, but I just feel like some of these at times in my opinion are. But anyways, but I know you guys do have your own opinions as well, but even I know I do have mine opinions as well, but still it's incredibly predictable at times. But anyway. Now you guys are probably thinking that how the fact that you might be considered doing a let's play of the 3DS version of Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transforms, at least for our YouTube channel. Well, unfortunately though, it's not gonna happen because first off, I probably refuse to able to actually just to restore my my fresh data and stuff like that, and second of all, it plays exactly like how it does in the console versions, minus there are some differences by the forms of the well, a less powerful graphics and all that stuff, and especially noticeable that the lesser amount of stars you can actually collect this time around though. And also this game only runs at you expected 30 frames per second in most of any other versions, except the PC version, because you know the PC version runs at 60 frames per second and stuff like that. But you know, you get the idea. So anyways, as I was saying by the forms of some other rumors, so I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard there are some rumors about this, is the fact that I've heard they're trying to be able to actually making Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, making its way onto the Nintendo Switch by the forms of thanks to Sega Aces, or Sega Ages, which I don't know if it's true or not, but even then, we'll see what happens when the Nintendo's E3 2018 is about to be on its horizon though, which even then, still haven't got far to it yet though, because even then, we still got, again, a couple of days left until that's been happening. Then I'm super looking forward to it, but in forms of, you know, more information on Super Smash Bros. For the Nintendo Switch. I'm hoping it's going to be a new game instead of like the actual port to Nintendo Wii U and the 3DS versions, in my opinion, just because, I don't know about for you for this point, folks, but I always found that well, I did have a decent time on the 3DS version despite the 9.0 intensity, which I did have some sort of struggle with by the forms of the Master Core boss fight, by the forms of how the fact that, well, you know, Master Core is so super tough on that particular version. Well, since I've now got myself my new 3DS XL, that I can now able to actually, you kidding me? That anyway, now I can able to actually just use a C-stick, so that way I can able to do quick smash attacks very easily now, just like the ones in the GameCube days, since you know, Super Smash Bros. Melee, and especially noticeable with the forms of Super Smash Bros. Brawl. So everything else will be in check here. But to me though, Super Smash Bros. For Wii U was slightly overrated in my opinion, just because, well, that's only because of how the fact that, well, first off, I found out, by the forms of some other videos, they actually did manage to upload this recently. Oh yeah, we got ourselves a new mod for Ooh La La now, because by the forms of the leveling up, and since then, we've now actually got her balanced mod, so yeah, that's pretty cool. It's the fact that I found the menus, especially noticeable of the Wii U version of Super Smash Bros., is very disorganized, because even then though, that everything else doesn't lay out very well. At least I give Super Smash Bros. Brawl some credit for. They actually make some of these menu sequences a lot more sense to me, because even then though, everything's organized in that specific game for that point. But anyways, anyway, enough about that, so let's go ahead and move on to the battle race, and hell yes, I'm going to be doing this on S rank because I just feel like to the challenge, and let's just say this right now, Ralph will be for the better, because even then though that, he's gonna wreck it. He's gonna wreck it all these computer opponents as possible, so even then though, yeah, let's see how this goes though, hey? I wonder how, yeah, as far as I can tell from that point of view. But anyways, let's get this stage started, and it seems we're going back into Summer Studios. Okay, another quick error right there, because for some reason I just keep on jinxing myself by the forms of my first attempts, because, well, I was doing pretty okay by the forms of the first attempts, but it's just at the very end I keep on getting wrecked by the forms of well-placed Poil Puff Fish, which even though that's, it might be sounds illogical, but anyways. So here we go, back into, you know, Summer Studios, but this time it's in Mirrored, obviously. So even though, so yeah, as you can tell, it's still rank S at the moment, or in this case, Class S. So yeah, this is what happens if you manage to able to get yourselves, if you manage to accomplish something like, if you manage to accomplish the, rank S by the forms of any kinds of missions like this, your reward is basically, it gives you 4 stars, unlike how it does it in, just 1 star for, you know, just, Class C, and Class B for 2 stars, obviously, and, Class A, it gives you, like, you know, 3 stars, and now Class S will give you 4 stars. So even though that should be a higher amount of stars we can able to actually grind for, which even though that could be very good for my recognition, which even though that could be something worth mentioning for this throughout. So anyways though. So yeah, with that being said though, that it looks like we're doing pretty well here. I think this might actually be the final time we're gonna be seeing this particular battle race gimmick like this. But even then though, I'm as well able to do those kinds of missions on my own time, especially noticeable that, oh, that was well placed there. Thanks a lot. Anyways though. Okay, so we got a firework at least. So hey, at least we beat. We actually hit BD Joe for once. So nice little hit destructible way. And looks like Joe Masashi has been annihilated already. So yeah, looks like we got ourselves one more opponent to face off with. Oh, actually, Alex Kid has already been knocked out, so that's kind of convenient. And yeah, it looks like we actually got ourselves one more opponent to face off with. So here we go. Hopefully it should be knocked down in just almost an instant. Oh, god damn it. He accidentally just sorry, I can't speak today. He did manage to able to dodge my weapons after all. So anyway, so let's see if I can get his last shot on him, especially those I've just got snowballs. And bullseye! There we go. Whew. That was really tough though. I gotta guarantee by now, that's really tough. And it looks like we got ourselves a hardcore achievement. Oh yeah, this is what happens if you manage to able to actually that's only happens if you manage to able to actually accomplish you know, Class S. So now we've got a new mod for Ralph, and now he can able to actually get himself. Oh, we got a Chaos sticker, so that's pretty pleasant. Specifically Chaos Zero design, which even I know, yeah. So now every now and then, that how the fact that we've actually got ourselves the next mod for Ralph, this means we got himself his handling. So this way he can able to give himself this easier time, but in forms of handling in general, and everything else will be just as be welcoming. So yeah, I might as well do one more event, and since then I've actually off by 2 stars left. For not only by actually unlocking this next character but in forms of the previous world, but also for some progressioning, which even I know I need to get 2 more stars. And this might be a perfect opportunity that I could assuming that let's just double check and see how much yeah, it does say 120 for this next unlockable character, which perfect timing too, because next challenge we're going to be anticipated for, and that's in forms of Ring Race, and it takes place in the forms of Dream Valley. So even then, we can able to actually get ourselves 2 stars among with that specific mission objective. So let's go ahead and use Amigo, so that way we can able to actually just anticipate for this challenge here. So of course everything else will be entirely flipped over. So even then, yeah. Unfortunately, we don't able to actually get a chance to able to actually unlock every single mirror versions of every single tracks. There are some certain tracks that we can able to unlock, but not all of them, mind you. So even though we don't come across into the Ocean View mirror mode yet, and especially noticeable with the Dragon Canyon. Yeah, as far as I'm aware of that. Especially with Carrier Zone, and especially noticeable with the forms of the Graveyard Gig, and even especially noticeable with the forms of Century Falls, and I'm pretty sure Roach Landing, and even especially noticeable in the classic stages as well, but in forms of you know, Shimbian Downtown, and Egg Hanger, and even Roulette Road, which even though that might be a little bit too much for me, for as far as I'm aware for that. So one thing I should probably mention about this actually, but in forms of the ring races entirely, is the fact that the more that you actually achieve some of these chain reactions, specifically if you're actually constantly hearing yourselves into your you know, the high pitch when it comes to going through rings. Speaking of which, we're actually going through rings in this Knights level, so it feels exactly like a Knights game, except, well, it's just a racing game instead of like the action-adventure type of gameplay, and plus there's no 2.5D dimensions, which even end up that it might be worked though, if only how the fact that these rings can be acted out like the orangey looking ball surrounding rings, which even though that could potentially work out like almost like a reference to a Knights game, which even though, yeah. So there we go, folks. That concludes the ring race. So, and as you expected, we got 2 stars. So that leaves us to 120 stars. Not to be confused as the forms of 120 power stars in the forms of Super Mario 64, and as well as Shine Sprites, 120 Shine Sprites in Super Mario Sunshine, and also power stars, 120 power stars for both Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. Well, at least specifically for the first half of those 2 games all combined. But anyways though, before we end off this video right there, I just want to briefly say this right now, is the fact that let's go ahead and unlock this gate here. So the next challenge right here is the Forms of Boost challenge. But in the forms of, oh, okay, so we ended up getting into the Century Falls then, huh? Okay then, I understand that. So, anyways though, so I'm going to say this right now, and before I'm able to discuss upon this, let's go ahead and unlock the Gallius from Golden Axe. his first ever debut. Well, usually technically that honor goes to Sega Superstars Tennis as well, but even then it was about time to actually have him in the actual racing game for once. So yeah, with that being said though, I'm gonna have to end things off here from an earlier points throughout, because let me tell you right off the bat though, this is going to be a huge delay to able to actually coming back to this game eventually, because you know when I stated this before that I need to able to grind for some more stars to able to actually continue on with the forms of this game in particular, because as you can see, I've actually got myself 120 stars at the moment. But the reason being for that is because as you can see right there, granted I don't have that enough stars to able to actually unlock Reala yet. But until when we get to the later challenges, by the forms of the boost challenge, and especially noticeable with the next challenge coming after that, I won't able to actually proceed unless if I able to get 165 stars and especially 200 and onwards. Because let me tell you right off the bat though, I might as well able to actually come back to this until at some point in September, because for the specific methods, well, I can still able to actually let the Grand Prix can happen, but at the moment I'm gonna have to take a break for this game until we actually come back to this until September, because grinding those stars can take a really long time. So yes, join me next time. Let's play Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed, is that we're hopefully completely finished by the forms of World Tour, to able to get some more stars and able to finish up with Superstar Showdown in the process. So see you guys then. Later fellas. That's one important thing out for this point there.